Welcome to Voices from the Cliff, a public affairs presentation of Briarcliff University. I'm your host, Ford Clark. On today's program, our guest is Alexis Patterson, university librarian and archivist. Is that how you say it? Did I say that right?
That is how you say it.
Okay, of the Bishop Mueller Library at Briarcliff. Hey, thanks for joining us today on the program. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. First off, tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yes, so I am originally from Hinton, Iowa, so just north of Sioux City here. So I have landed at the closest university to my parents' front step as I possibly could have done. Growing up, I really did not know what I wanted to do. I loved helping people and kind of just helping out. So when I went to college, so I attended South Dakota State University, I majored in English and minored in animal science. I was actually planning on doing biology and then met chemistry and went, this isn't going to happen. So I graduated, moved back home, worked actually at CF Industries, Farm Bureau, kind of wandered around a little bit going, I don't know what I want to do. My mom said, have you thought of library science? You loved helping people in undergrad. And I was like, well, we'll check it out, see what we can do. So I kind of looked into it, applied to a couple of different schools, and ended up going to the University of Hawaii in Manoa. So I was downtown Honolulu for 2 years, which was lovely, and absolutely fell in love with library science and helping, and always knew I wanted to move back to the Midwest. So I've been blessed with all three of my professional jobs being in the Midwest, which has been lovely and got me back home. So that is good.
So you talk about helping people. Mm-hmm. So what about library science? I mean, what was the attraction there in terms of, you like I said, about helping people?
Yeah. So I loved kind of having a question that people are trying to find the answer to, and then digging into it and getting those answers, directing them to somewhere that they can find, what they're looking for. So in undergrad, I worked as an admissions counselor or admissions ambassador. So working with the counselors of doing the tours and showing them around campus. I also worked as an orientation leader. So I was front and center, forced me out of my introverted shell a lot, and was really kind of always finding the answers to the questions that the parents had, the students had, directing them here and there. As an English major, I loved kind of doing the research and finding and digging into it. So that has really been a great blessing as I've moved into library science and really helping kind of find the answers to the questions that the students have. And they come up with very wild questions, which is always fun. And they're like, this is a weird question to ask. I'm like, no, I love those. Like, bring those to me. Those are the ones I live for.
So were you a seafood fan before you moved to Hawaii? And did you have to become a seafood fan when you moved to Hawaii?
So I did not, I liked some seafood. I was very I'm from the Midwest. We don't do sushi much. Didn't actually fall in love with sushi until I came back. Now I'm it's one of my favorite things to go out and eat. Date nights are great when there's sushi involved. But yeah, I was very kind of still a little sheltered on my eating, but I did fall in love with weird kind of food combinations. Mac salad, so it's a macaroni salad with vinegar in it. Delicious. It's one of my favorites down there.
Wow, very cool. And of course, the weather quite a bit different in Hawaii. I mean, what drew you to Hawaii?
Yeah, so when I was applying to schools, I was accepted to two schools, so St. Catherine's up in Minneapolis and then University of Hawaii. And looking at them, I was offered in-state tuition down in Hawaii, so it made both of the options affordable for me. So I was kind of just looking at the two of them. In Minneapolis, I would have been a half hour away from family, which was the same that I was in undergrad, was going to be in the Midwest, a location that I knew because, South Dakota State's in Brookings. So I would have known the culture, known what would have happened. And I wanted to kind of explore a little bit more, get outside of my comfort zone. So I think I went to the farthest school I could have in the United States. But I experienced a very different culture, which was wonderful, kind of learning different people, different kind of situations that people are in. And that was really something that I wanted to at least experience and go, what is kind of these differences, which has also really helped me be able to connect to students a lot more of going, I'm not just the farm girl from Iowa who's always lived in the Midwest. I've been different places. I've seen different kind of struggles and, where people have grown and kind of seen what can happen out in the world, which has been really nice.
So you grew up close to Sioux City. What brought you to Briarcliff? How long have you been at Briarcliff?
Yeah, so I have been at Briarcliff almost 2 years now. So I started in June of 2023. I moved back home. My family had kind of gone through some struggles, and I knew I just wanted to be back home. And the last university I worked at was another small university, kind of same student population size, a lot of athletes, and kind of working with what their passions are alongside with sports. And so it's a different kind of idea and ideology that the students are bringing in. And that's what I knew I wanted to have. So I was kind of sort of looking for a new job, and Briarcliffs came across my desk, and I went, should I apply? Maybe, maybe not. I went, you know what? I'm going to apply. If I don't get it, not the end of the world. I still very much loved the job I was in, but wanted to be closer to home, and kind of applying and doing the interview here of going, yes, this is another small university. I love knowing the students and getting to know them and talking with them, and just kind of joking around and saying hi to them and having them say hi back is wonderful. The larger universities that I've, attended and worked at, you didn't have that connection. And that's what I really loved about Briarcliff. I love being back in Sioux City and that kind of culture. We're a very kind of unique location of a lot of, city kids and farm kids, and it's, hometown, which is great. And so I was very happy to have gotten the chance to move back and still have that small town feel and connection that Briarcliff gives.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that people don't realize is that what you do, I mean, you're known as a librarian, but what you do is so many things. I tell my students, okay, when you're looking to research, find a librarian, because they know everything. I mean, I tell them that, but your job has so much more to do with research and I guess I don't want to call it a stigma, but people see a librarian and they think, okay, they take care of the library, but it's so much more than that. I mean, the more I get to know, the more I have been on a campus, the more I get to know what a librarian does and all of the different hats that you wear. The research that you do and the research that you help students do is just really the tip of the iceberg. And I get all of these emails every week from you about all of the different things that are going on at the library, and I think when does this person sleep? Because you're constantly, you have so many things going on, and if you could just kind of touch on, first of all, what you do, and second of all, what are some of the things that are happening here at the library?
Yeah, so librarians do wear just so many hats. I think especially with a small library, so there's a little bit less of a kind of staff population here with the librarians, but we still are doing just as much as a larger library does. And that's one of the things I love about. I get to do a little bit of everything. No 2 days are ever the same. So as the director and university librarian, I'm kind of working in the background. So we're doing the fun budgets and all of those things of keeping the building going and the programs and all of that. I also am kind of working a lot with the kind of social media, which has fallen off a little bit this semester. I'm hoping to get that back going with being down a staff member. That's kind of been on the back burner, but we still have a lot of different events. So different things that are happening. We do have 2 book clubs that go on. So one is our student-led book club, and it's a no pressure book club. So you don't have to read any books. You don't have to have like an assigned reading for the month for the meeting. We just gather and talk about books, talk about what we're reading, what we want to read, book suggestions. And then I'm also kind of in charge of a more traditional book club. So it's our Friends of the Library book club. So that has a lot of alumni and emeritus professors who are in there. And so we meet, we have a book every month that we read, we go through, we do the discussions, we always go off topic, which is wonderful. So it's a very traditional style book club. Other things that we do, so in the fall, I do a kind of mystery in the library. So my first year I did it, we murdered a librarian and we had to figure out who did it. Last year we We kind of trapped a few students in the tunnels, and you had to figure out who trapped them, who got trapped, why were they being trapped. So I kind of do that fun mystery. We also have an edible book contest. So we decorate kind of cakes and cupcakes and food in themes of books. So last year I made the rainbow fish, rainbow out of cupcakes was my contribution to that. Also, we have our excellence event, which is coming up at the end of April. So we're planning that and kind of putting that one on. So we have a lot of kind of activities that way. But we also then have obviously the studio here, so we have people coming in and doing different things. I do instruction, so I'm talking with students on how to research, how to use different things in the library. I can teach them how to, do a really, really good Google search. That is one of my skills. I don't know everything, but I know how to find it. That's kind of one of our superpowers as a librarian is we don't quite know what you're talking about, but I can get you there with the keywords. So I'm really good at searching and kind of finding those pieces of information. And I love, again, when students come with the wackiest of questions. I know one time I was asked, what was the first song ever recorded? And it was, or movie, and it was this horse race, and it was stop animation. It was really cool. And so trying to find the history on that. So I do all of that. And then I'm also the archivist. So I'm working in the archives, pulling up Briarcliff history. I'm actually working on switching over our archives display from the building's history over to social work because they're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. So we have a lot of hats. We do sleep sometimes, though.
Yeah, my goodness. So many things going on. Well, so what is the future of the Bishop Mueller Library?
Yes, so we are continuing to kind of create a space that is warm and welcoming. One of my philosophies as a librarian is that the library is kind of the center of campus. It's like the living room of campus. So this past summer, we really worked on kind of rearranging some of the furniture upstairs, kind of having more seating pod-like areas so you can just sit down and relax and have nice study areas. So we're continuing to do that. We're always working on the archives and kind of working to make sure that those are continually being added to and showing what we have. Always, outreach and showing that the library isn't a scary place. We don't shush you in here. So we, encourage small groups and even larger groups for study sessions, things like that, and just kind of having a nice, fun place to be. So we aren't the traditional libraries people used to think of them. Libraries are really evolving into having more fun, we'll say.
Well, I must say that just having worked on several campuses, this library is just wonderful. It's the most welcoming place that of any of the campuses that I've ever been on. It is just this wonderful place you walk in, and I know you're going for that warm feeling, and you really do get that when you walk in here.
Oh,
that
good.
it's just this nice place to walk in, and I see students, they're tucked into little coves, and they're studying, and they're getting things done, and it's just you've done a very nice job of doing that. So
yes, thank you so much. And I know my staff that I work with is wonderful too, that we're always kind of trying to figure out how to make it warm and welcoming. And again, we're working with institutional green paint. So we've got, barriers here, but we're trying our hardest to making sure that it looks nice and organized, and both of the gals that I work with do a wonderful job with that as well.
Well, it's a great place to be. That you guys have all done a great job here at the library.
Well, thank you.
And of course, before we let you go, would be remiss to not congratulate you on your wedding.
Thank you.
You're a newlywed, and
Yes.
and that's fantastic. And trying to fit that all in with your job
Yes.
here as well. But no, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Our guest today has been Alexis Patterson, University Librarian and Archivist of the Bishop Mueller Library here at Briarcliff. This has been Voices from the Cliff, a public affairs presentation of Briarcliff University. I'm Ford Clark.